How to choose a product design agency for your startup in 2026. Choosing a product design agency in 2026 looks different than it did even 2 years ago. AI has changed how fast design work can move, budgets are tighter, and founders have more options than ever, from freelancers to full-service studios to AI-augmented teams. That also makes the decision harder. Here's how to think about it, based on what Humbleteam sees across startups at every stage. Start with what stage you're actually at. The right product design agency for a pre-seed startup is not the right one for a Series B company. At Humbleteam, we work with founders across the full range, from teams validating an MVP to Series B platforms scaling across markets. And the brief looks completely different each time. Early-stage startups usually need speed and validation, a working prototype, a testable MVP, something that can go in front of users or investors fast. Later-stage startups usually need a design system, consistency across a growing product, and a partner who can integrate with an existing team rather than replace it. A good product design agency will ask about your stage before proposing a process, not the other way around. Look for a process, not just a portfolio. A strong portfolio tells you an agency can produce good-looking work. It doesn't tell you how they think. When evaluating a product design agency for your startup, ask what their process actually looks like in the first 2 weeks. Humbleteam's approach, for example, always starts with discovery, user research, competitive analysis, and a clear definition of what success looks like before any screens get designed. That upfront thinking is what separates a real product design partner from an execution studio that just makes what you ask for, whether or not it's the right thing to build. Check how they handle speed in 2026. This is the biggest shift from a few years ago. AI-powered workflows mean design timelines that used to take weeks can now take days. When choosing a product design agency in 2026, ask directly how they use AI tools in their process, not as a buzzword, but as a real part of how they design and validate ideas. At Humbleteam, AI-assisted workflows using tools like Cursor and Claude are now part of how concepts get tested with real users before a full design sprint is even scoped. A startup evaluating agencies in 2026 should expect this kind of speed as a baseline, not bonus. Ask about the founders and specific industries they've worked in. Generalist agencies exist, but startups usually benefit more from a product design agency with real experience in their specific category. Humbleteam has worked across fintech, medtech, sports tech, and SaaS, with startups like Deserve, Oxygen, Daily Pay, and Abra, which means the design decisions come with context about how users in those categories actually behave, not just generic best practices. When you're choosing a product design agency for your startup, ask for examples from your specific industry, and ask what was different about that work compared to a generic SaaS project. Make sure they'll leave you with something durable. A good product design agency doesn't just hand over a Figma file and disappear. When Humbleteam completes an engagement, the deliverable is a design system, components, documentation, and the reasoning behind key decisions. So the startup's internal team can keep building without starting from scratch on every new feature. This matters more in 2026 than ever because startups are shipping faster and need design foundations that scale with that speed, not ones that become outdated after the first few releases. The bottom line for 2026, choosing a product design agency for your startup in 2026 comes down to a few real questions. Do they understand your stage? Do they lead with strategy or just screens? Do they actually use AI to move faster? Or just say they do? Do they know your industry? And will they leave you with something your team can build on? If you're a founder evaluating product design agencies for your startup right now, Humbleteam is happy to start with a conversation and walk through exactly how we'd approach your specific product. Learn more about Humbleteam, a product design agency for funded startups in fintech, medtech, sports tech, and SaaS, at humbleteam.com.